What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining us. So we're going to get into our preview show for round number 6 at RedBud. So I have quite a list of interesting things to talk about today. There's a dozen or so points that I want to talk about. Some of the highlights are going to be why I think Ty Masterpool will be back on the podium this weekend. Also, why I think Haiden Deegan will be pretty much unstoppable this round, as well as Justin Barcia seems to be sitting out, so we have an update on him, as well as we have an update on Julian Beaumer. And we also have an update on a timeline on when we can really expect Webb and Eli Tomac back, and a lot more. Also, if you guys are not already entered in my giveaway, I'll have the information for that at the end of the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be Ty Masterpool and why I think he could have an exceptionally good weekend this weekend. So some of you may already know Ty has had some success at RedBud already, but I want to break down exactly what that looks like. So in 2020, Ty ended up leading some laps, 9 of them to be specific, before falling back to 3rd place behind RJ Hampshire and Jeremy Martin. Then in 2022, while he was on a privateer KTM, he got the whole shot and led a few more laps ahead of Jett and Hunter Lawrence. Then last year, when he moved up to the 450, he started in 2nd behind Jett in both motos, and he was riding really well. He did end up tangling with Adam Cianciarulo in one of the races and going down. But all that's to say that Ty Masterpool and RedBud go well together, and now that he has won a moto and an overall, if you put him out in front in a place that he's already comfortable being out in front at, and with the expectation and the knowledge that he's capable of winning a moto and an overall, I look for him to really get in there and try to contend for those wins. Not saying he's going to win, but definitely expect for Ty to do a little bit better than he did last weekend at Southwick. Next guy I want to talk about is going to be Levi Kitchen. So we saw Levi get off to a great start at round number 1 Impala, but ever since then it's been kind of a slow decline in his results. He's still 4th in points, but he's pretty much out of the championship fight at this point unless something absolutely catastrophic happens. At this point, I'm just looking for Levi to try to bounce back and get some momentum back on his side going into the Super Motocross Championship. I really only see 2 obvious places where he could try to turn things around, and one of them being this weekend in RedBud. If you look back to last year, he ended up actually catching and passing Haiden Deegan and winning the moto in moto number 2, where Haiden would end up winning overall. However, it is worth noting that he did catch and pass Haiden in that moto, and he did show some speed. So we know that he's comfortable at this track, and it's time for him to turn things around a little bit. He hasn't been riding horrible, but definitely not to his full expectations. So keep an eye on Levi. Maybe he can bounce back this weekend. Next, I want to talk about the battle that we have for 2nd in the championship, and that's going to be between Tom Vialle and Chance Hymas. So they're only 1 point apart right now. It looks like Tom has a little bit more momentum on his side at this point, but Chance has been rock solid consistent all season long, and I do expect him to ride a little bit better at RedBud this weekend than he did at Southwick. It's going to be interesting to see if one of these 2 guys can establish themselves as a true 2nd place guy behind Haiden. And while the championship is seeming to get a bit out of reach for both of them as they're 42 points back behind Haiden right now, it is still important to try to establish yourself as that 2nd guy, because as we've seen before, it just takes one crash and that guy who's leading the championship is out of the points, and now all of a sudden you are the points leader. Now, I'm not saying that I expect that or want that for Haiden, but I'm just saying that it's important to keep fighting for that 2nd spot because that 2nd could turn into a 1st. So now let's talk about Haiden Deegan and the domination that he has going on. So we all knew that we had to keep an eye on Haiden last weekend at Southwick, as he kind of struggled there last year, but as I had said in my preview show last weekend that, I don't really know if we can count last year's results anymore. He's improved so much as a rider since then, and sure enough, he came out there and showed us that we definitely can't doubt him regardless of the circumstances. So shout out to Haiden for putting on a really strong ride. That one scrub that he did in Moto 2 was pretty gnarly. I don't expect anything less out of Haiden. I think even if he gets a bad start, he's probably going to find his way up to the front. I don't know if anybody can stop him. And this weekend at RedBud, remember last year he ended up going 2-3 for his first ever overall win. So he definitely likes RedBud, and obviously it's 4th of July weekend. Haiden is fairly patriotic. He's going to be pumped up. He's going to want to do it for the Americans, and he's definitely not going to want anybody else, especially a foreign rider, coming in and beating him. So he's definitely going to be highly motivated. Look for him to be sending it. The only thing that I expect to be able to stop him is himself if he makes a mistake or gets tangled up and goes down or something like that. Just to give some perspective on how far ahead Haiden is in the points and how dominant he has been, the points gap between Haiden Deegan and Chance Hymas is about the same as the gap from Chance Hymas back to Ty Masterpool. So not to say anything bad about Ty Masterpool, but he's all the way back in 6th in the points, and he hasn't done nearly as well as Chance Hymas, and that's about how far back Chance is to Hayden. If Hayden can beat Chance both motos this weekend in RedBud, there's a really good chance that he will leave RedBud with over a 2-moto gap on Chance, so that'd be really good for him just in case he does end up having a mechanical or having to just completely skip around. He could still be the points leader after that. Last thing I want to talk about before we move on to the 450 class is going to be a quick update on Julian Beaumer. So we saw Julian go down in that second moto, and unfortunately he was the cause of that red flag. So it's never a good sign when you see someone go down and the red flag comes out. Thankfully, it sounds like Julian is relatively okay. Doesn't sound like he'll be returning for racing this weekend, but all things are sounding pretty good. He's getting himself checked out, and we will have further updates on him soon. But as of right now, it sounds like he's able to get around, he's on his feet, and they're just making sure that he checks out. We don't have an exact return date just yet, but overall it sounds like he walked away from it. He's just banged up. Moving on to the 450 class, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kevin Moranz. Kevin Moranz is going to be returning to Pro Motocross this weekend for the first time this year, so shout out to him. If you guys know Kevin, he's a good guy, he's a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully he can get in there and score some points, but either way, he'll be out there sending it this weekend. Next up, it sounds like Justin Barcia is going to be sitting out for at least a few rounds. If you guys saw our update video last week, you know that he has both of his knees pretty banged up. Incredibly, he was able to still come out and get a 6th place in one of the motos last weekend, and he did have a lot of fun out there, but he was really sore. So it sounds like he's going to take some time off, probably come back after the break in Unadilla. So it doesn't sound like he needs surgery or anything, but he's going to be sitting out this weekend and probably the next few rounds after that. Next, we got to talk about that battle for the championship points lead, starting with Jett Lawrence, who is tied with Chase Sexton, only 3 points behind his brother. So really cool to see that the points is this close. However, it doesn't feel like it's really as close as it is, because we all know that Jett is on his way to the top. It is kind of nice that it's not just a runaway championship at this point and things are still close, but realistically, I feel like unless something happens with Jett as far as if he tips over or has a mechanical, he's probably going to leave here this weekend as your points leader. We did see some signs of Jett being human in the second moto at Southwick, but that's really one of the hardest second motos that we have on the circuit. I do expect Jett to come in feeling a little bit better this weekend than he was last weekend anyways, so unless he can get a bad start somehow, which has not really happened anytime in motocross the last couple of years, I think he's probably going to win both motos. As far as Chase Sexton goes, this is kind of considered his home race. He grew up in Illinois about 3 hours from the track. I do still have some concerns about Chase riding well this weekend though. We saw him return to the series at RedBud last year, and while you could say maybe he wasn't up to speed, he really didn't miss that much time, and when he came back, he couldn't even beat Dylan Ferrandis in the second moto. So that's not to say that Dylan Ferrandis is a slouch, but what I am saying is that if he was exceptionally good at this track, you would think that he would be a little bit closer to Jett and not battling with Dylan last year. Speaking of Dylan Ferrandis, we did bring to your attention that he did make some motor changes during the week off, and so keep an eye on him and see if he could do better last weekend. And sure enough, Dylan did ride a lot better last weekend. So it did seem like he was not off to a good start, and he was well outside the top 20 in the first lap, and things were not looking that great. However, he did move all the way up to 7th place, so not a bad comeback ride. And then with the 5th place in Moto number 2, he ended up going 5th overall on the weekend, which is definitely not where he wants to be, but is also definitely an improvement. So if we look back at Dylan's results from last year, he was able to get 2nd in Moto number 2 right behind Jett. So look for him to potentially maybe be an outside threat for that podium this weekend. Now we can't forget to talk about Hunter Lawrence. He is still your points leader, so shout out to this man. Definitely not something I expected for him to be the points leader, especially this far into the series. He's been extremely consistent, and he's been on the podium every single moto except for Moto number 2 in Hangtown, which he got 4th in. So really hasn't made any mistakes, and that moto that he did get 4th in was that epic ride where Chase Sexton came all the way through the field and Aaron Plessinger got on the podium as well. So kind of an outlier moto there, and he was still able to get 4th. With all of that being said, that consistency is not going to carry him through the rest of the season if he wants to win this championship. He's going to have to start winning some motos. He's only 3 points ahead of the other 2 guys. So if he doesn't get it going here soon and start getting some moto wins, both of those guys are going to leapfrog him Realistically, I think that would be okay. I think it's great how far he's come in his rookie season, and just to get top 3 in the points in his rookie season is exceptionally good. However, if you're the points leader, you do not want to give that up, so definitely look for Hunter to try to get a start and try to get a moto win this weekend. The last thing we got to talk about is going to be when Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac are going to be coming back to the series. So Jeremy Coker did speak on the subject, and he said that it looks like Cooper Webb will be coming back for round number 9, which is going to be in Unadilla. And then Eli Tomac will probably come back for round number 10 in Budds Creek. Now, those races are still over a month away. They're in mid-August, so things could definitely change between now and then. And you never know, they could come back sooner. But as of right now, that is their timeline, so I just wanted to bring that to you guys. And that is going to go ahead and do it for your RedBud preview show. Make sure you guys stay safe out there on 4th of July, guys. Make sure you enjoy it. If you stuck around for the whole video, I really appreciate it, and it helps me out a lot. Thank you guys for watching. If you want the giveaway information, it's going to be right at the end of this video, and I will see you in the next video. What's up, everyone? We're giving away a brand new Fly Formula helmet. I personally use this helmet, and I love it. It's super safe. It's got lots of cool features, like the little bendy visor that also breaks away really well. It also has the Rheon technology that is very good at absorbing energy when you crash. It's easy and free to enter. If you're viewing on Instagram, just click the link in the bio. And if you're viewing on YouTube, click the link in the description. Everything is pretty straightforward. And we're going to be running this giveaway all the way till the end of Pro Motocross. After the season finale in Ironman, we'll draw one lucky winner. So enter now before it's too late.